traders, what up investors? Ken here from Dyslexic Investor, and thank you for tuning in for another fantastic video. Today we're going to be looking at the overall market. Did we dip? Did did Kathy Wood come in and save us in Tesla and PLTR and other various stocks? Or could we see more downside? These are a lot of the questions that we're seeing here. A lot of people are asking like, hey, that wasn't too bad. That it only lasted like a week and a half. This kind of correction. Is inflation gone now? Is the yield no longer to be worried about? All these other concerns, and I'm going to give you my God honest opinions going forth. So before we get started, I have to say that I am not a financial advisor. This is purely for entertainment purposes, and I am just a average Joe that loves trading, looking at charts, and sharing my personal opinions with anyone who wants to listen, who's ever within earshot of what I need to say. So let's kind of just jump in here to the QQQ. Of course, if you're not familiar with the QQQ, what is the QQQ? QQQ. I'm sorry, one second. Let me get this. There we go. All right, so the QQQ. I want to get my pen here ready. So the QQQ, you can see up here on the top, is the NASDAQ, basically the ETF. Of course, this is the heavy weighted tech sector. We talked about this potentially trying to hold the 89 EMA here, which is kind of within this range right here, which is around that 309 to 310 range. We did see a very strong kind of candle coming back here, bouncing off that 297, which if you haven't watched the channel, that we talked about this the other night, potentially going past 300 and hitting at 297.41. Guess what? Bada bing, it hit the 144 EMA, which is this green dotted teal line here. So that is going to be a potential level where we could see a short-term bounce. Again, a lot of folks are asking within the Discord, and if you haven't already, join the Discord. Fantastic folks. Asking about, is this a bull trap? This is a kind of scenario. Potentially anything could be a bull trap. It's always very difficult to see what a bull trap means until like after the fact. A bull trap really means is when it pretends that it's recovering and usually goes up to particular moving averages. Sometimes it goes up to the 8 or the 21, and then it kind of flushes back lower. A perfect example of that was basically what we saw this week here on coming in on Tuesday. We had Monday, and then we had Tuesday. We saw Monday, we kind of bounced from that Friday low, came up pretty strong Monday, came up Tuesday, but we never got past that 21 EMA here, and then we continued on our way down. So that is basically, textbookly speaking, somewhat of a bull trap on what we can see here. And on the same note, we can see that again, if we do get that is basically the level 1 of resistance on the way up. So we need to watch for that if we do get the ticks up to the 21 EMA as well. So because you have the 21 EMA and the parabolic SAR dots, which I'm kind of going through with the pencil here, those are going to be kind of keeping some pressure down on the overall chart as well. As you can see on the bottom stuff here as well, on the TTM squeeze and the volumes on oscillator, we did get a little bit of a bounce here. The TTM squeeze is still showing momentum to the downside. So this has not switched from yet red to yellow yet. So that's also something to be very keen on. So this could just be a potential liftoff for people to get out of their positions, and maybe we get a little shrink lower. So the reason why I'm not going in 120,000% here, just saying it's over, and then Mr. Bull can come back out and everything can be hunky-dory here, is that we have a couple things coming up. So if folks are not too familiar with this, we have triple witching here. So that is coming out on the 19th. So if you're a new options trader, so you have monthly options, you have weekly options, you have quarterly options, and so forth. All these contracts are going to be expiring on the 19th. So that only happens 4 times a year. Normally, there's this thing called a pit bull low, where we could potentially see more of those options contracts being rolled out, closed, or whatever, that we could see that the 10th, 11th, or even the 12th, some selling pressure coming in. So I don't believe that we're completely out of the woods yet. Technically speaking, the way I like to trade, these are two volatile amount of charts that we're seeing kind of going up and down here. And something I really don't want to be just kind of just throwing cash at it and kind of, I wouldn't say hoping and praying that they kind of recover. So speaking of hoping and praying that things recover, of course, Kathy Wood has bought a lot of Tesla and PLTR. So we'll look at those two charts. Tesla, wow, this thing has been very much in a downward trending stock here now, very aggressively just in the last week or so. That 89 EMA did not hold. The last 3 days have been very, very disappointing if you're a Tesla long bull, or it can be optimistic if, depending on where you look at it, you're going to be able to get some shares at a decent price potentially. That being said, we did get a pretty strong bounce here. We did close above the 144 EMA here, which is around the 583. So 583 is going to be looking at that potential levels on short-term support here, which we're kind of potentially see if that base building comes in here. We want to see if the 5 and 8 moving averages could potentially level off here and start trading with the longer dated moving averages down here to kind of see that selling pressure stop. Can that happen? You could buy in right now. Again, I'm a long-term Tesla holder, so it's not really worth it right now. I would rather kind of see it level off here first before just kind of just jumping off the boat and just being the first one to potentially get hurt, get burnt, or whatever the kind of scenario you want to put in if we do decide to continue going lower here. Because Kathy did buy quite a bit here. You see the enormous amount of volume here in the back here. We can kind of show and highlight that a little bit more aggressively on this chart here. We're talking about well over, let me put this on a daily chart here. What is that? That is about 90 million shares that day. And of course, this is this is kind of the outlier here on the 12th of December. That's when it was added into the S&P 500. So there was a lot of recalculating going on there. But you can see here just on this chart as well. So this is a chart that I don't actually show very much, but I probably should show more. It's actually showing the trend in color form. Basically, blue or the light teal just means continue grinding higher. White means it's kind of in wishy-washy mode between these moving averages of the 9 and the 21, and then potentially try to see where they can calibrate in that range. If they continue going lower below this the 21 EMA, they can really just kind of sell off. Of course, as we really saw with some very aggressive movements. Basically, Tesla from the high to low right now, we're down, it's about 40% from 900 down to that 544-ish range. So that's a lot of damage being taken there. So looking here at PLTR, of course, has been a very large one for Kathy Wood, and it's seeing a lot of talk on the social media platforms talking about like, oh, it's a great company, you should invest in it, blah, 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 blah. I'm seeing the smorgasbord of videos and other forth of people really just talking about PLTR. Most people, I think, quite don't understand the company and actually haven't really looked at it very much. They're just kind of just listening to what they've been told by the machines. At this 144 EMA here, that's kind of around that 2146 range. That is a potential level of support here, and that 200 EMA basically around that 1950 to $20 level. So that would be potentially what I would like to add in between that range. We did get ticked down there very quickly in a very short period of time just today. It was a very, very, very small window. It was maybe towards the end of the day. Yeah, it was basically towards the middle of the day here. We weren't down below 20 for very long. So I know David picked up some shares. He talked about that on the Discord again. Please swing by, join the Discord. No obligations, nothing. Just a great group of guys and gals there. Just trying to build a community of people that like to share, talk stocks, trade ideas, and things like that. Basically, that's what PLTR we're looking at here. We're going to potentially see some levels kind of come in here. The same kind of like basically a lot of stocks we're going to be talking about. They're below the 21 EMA, and the parabolic SAR dots are currently above it. So that is, again, creating that downward pressure of that trend potentially going lower. PLTR is not as much as underwater as Tesla is, because it's kind of holding within that 89 EMA around that 2450, 2466 range. So that is something that we could be looking at. So another segment I wanted to talk about, some people did enjoy it, was the speculative trade idea. So again, this is again a speculative trade idea. I'm not a financial advisor. This is just something that I wanted to add to some of the videos, on the nightly videos, to kind of update on what we're seeing in the market, and some things that could potentially an interesting trade. So the speculative trade idea that we're looking for is going to be coming into Snap. Snap is a very interesting chart here. It has been beaten up, but look at this. Look at this pattern here. It bounced off that 89 EMA pretty aggressively, and just touching it like it was like a hot stove, and then jumping right back up. Very similar like PLTR we just looked at, with this very long wick, but towards most of the action towards the top end of creating this hammer kind of motion, which is normally described as being bullish. But we're not going to be just going out and just throwing 100% the account into the stock. Again, the speculative play is 1 to 2% at most of the portfolio that you're willing to risk on a trade like this. So what are the parameters? Basically, we're going to be kind of keeping this very simple. I'm going to keep this on a very short leash if I do decide to get into it. I just wanted to stay above that 50 SMA here, which is that red line here, basically around that 50 high 56 to 57 range. And what we're going to be looking to try to get back up to is try to break back above 6250. So 6250 is going to be that potential level that we could see. The only downside that we could see, there's not a lot of downside we could see. We do have a squeeze setting up that is kind of potentially showing to the short side, but it hasn't fired yet. If the overall market does continue to sell off, that's definitely going to be taking Snap with it. So that's going to be basically an X-nay on that trade. But if the market wants to recover coming into next week, this definitely could be an interesting buy above the 50 SMA here, if we can kind of build a base here. Because again, this is a very large aggressive candle here. So, so the second speculative play that we're going to be talking about is Dash. So Dash is one. If you're not familiar with this, is DoorDash. This is a newer IPO that kind of came public here. Very much has seen a very choppy market. Missed on earnings. Again, it's a delivery kind of company, so it's going to be very much beaten down. I'm actually going to be highlighting this and potentially doing a video. So if people do enjoy this part of the video, if you haven't already, hit the like and subscribe. I would definitely greatly appreciate that. So with DoorDash, very early here, but we potentially could be looking for a break below 140. If we cannot get above the 8 EMA here on the daily chart, so around 160 to 161, and kind of fail with the overall market potentially that we could see next week, again, due to the triple witching, due to inflation, the Fed potentially falling behind and having the Treasury bond notes go higher, so with interest rates and so forth. Be very mindful. This is still one that could potentially be working out here. If that fails around 161, 162, that downward trend would kind of be somewhat broken. Or if we kind of base here around 150, that could be also an interesting trade. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for coming by and watching the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on the way out the door. And again, I'm Ken from the Dyslexic Investor, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.